up, everybody? Luis over at Creator Street Designs. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As you can see, we are back in the Escalade. Not really working on it today, but I am giving it a couple of miles because it is going to sit for a little bit. And I like to rotate the vehicles when I have them in the fleet. So we're going to take this one to the shop today, just for a little run on the highway. But you folks are actually going to get to hang out with me while I and the kid, aka Chris, take apart a Trailblazer SS and start the process of doing a 4L80 swap on it. A lot of folks don't really get to see 4L80 swaps done on those things, and a lot of people don't get to see the process behind it, but you're going to get to see it. So if you ever wondered what it takes to 4L80 swap a all-wheel drive Trailblazer SS, then I guess this is now your time to actually figure it out. There's not a lot that needs to go into it, to be honest. I mean, there's some work involved. I mean, there is always work involved, but the beautiful part about it is it's really not a lot. The parts is the hard part. So Trailblazer SS's come in several varieties. They come in two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. Well, actually two-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, which means all four wheels are permanently running. And then you've got Trailblazer SS's, well, 1SS, a 2SS, a 3SS. And if you folks don't know what a Trailblazer SS is, it's basically a vehicle that was produced from 2005-ish till 2008. And it is a Trailblazer, just your plain Jane short-bodied four-door Trailblazer that Chevrolet decided to stuff a 6-liter LS2 in. And on top of that, they decided to offer it with all-wheel drive and 410 gears and make it do 13s in the quarter from the factory. So it became basically kind of like a hot rod SUV, or son of Typhoon, son of a Cyclone, if you know what those were. And it was a great all-around truck. It was fast, handled great, really nimble for its size, a little heavy because of all the stuff in it. I mean, it was a truck frame, truck body, but it was a great vehicle nonetheless. So what a lot of that did was it gave Chevrolet, along with the Silverado SS, a little bit of performance credo in the truck community. They really hadn't had that. Up until that point, they had only had really the SS 454, which, in my opinion, really wasn't a sport truck. It was just a Chevy 1500 with a 2500, 3500, 454 and a 400 or 700 R4 Transit. So that was the first, hey, let's really make a performance vehicle. And they did it. From Chevy anyway. Now GMC, they had the Cyclone, they had the Typhoon, but for Chevy, that was their first, foray in the whole thing. But one of the weak-kneed Achilles heels of Trailblazer SS's, other than some of the questionable decisions with the way that they set up the oil pickup tube in the pan, and the way that they ran the drive shafts through the oil pan when they really didn't have to, and some other small stuff, the biggest Achilles heel of that vehicle has been and always will be, it got saddled with a 4L70. Now, a 4L70 son of 4L60, not a bad transmission in lighter vehicles, but there's a reason why people have always said those things are 4 neutrals. Suffice it to say, the motor put out probably more power than the transmission could ever handle. And in its defense, a 4L70 could live under it for a bit, but at some point when you actually start modding the thing and leaning into it and really trying to get the most you can get out of your Trailblazer SS, that transmission is kind of the thing that decides to check out and say goodbye and retire to Florida. Well, in comes one of the beautiful parts of Chevrolet, General Motors, in the sense that everything is modular. So out goes 4L70, In goes 4L80, which sat behind 8 ones. So if it can handle 400 or 500 foot-pounds of torque factory, what do you think a slightly modded one would do? We're gonna find out. So y'all sit around, enjoy the ride. We're on our way. Let's go. Got the kit. Showing y'all what it looks like under here. And again, sorry for the bad camera quality. So, Trailblazer SS, all-wheel drive, front diff. Don't know if y'all can see that, but we'll see if we can get some light for you. Well, let's see if this works a little better. So, front diff, transmission, which is coming out, transfer case, which is coming out, and we're gonna have to work on the rear end on this thing. So that's the old drive shaft. If y'all folks notice, it has the original U-joints. So that's gonna have to come out. And we have a fan because it is Southeast Texas and it's freaking hot, so make no apologies for that. This was a rust belt truck, so it does have some rust on it that we're gonna have to address. And the original Bilsteins are still in there. Those are coming out. 600 horsepower engine is not gonna like to run on factory shocks. That is for darned sure. And at some point we're gonna do control arms and a whole bunch of other pieces. But they already did an airbag delete on it, so that's cool. Our nice cool new exhaust is done. All these welds here are gonna get refinished. We're gonna get this flanged over here and get a new pipe put on. So this is what we're doing. This is what we're making happen. Let's get it on the ground. So batteries disconnected. Exhaust is out of it. That's when you plan out exhaust. It's pretty straight. Now you gotta pull that trans dipstick out of there. Put that where we can find it. Batteries disconnected. Good old 103mm throttle body and fast L6 HR intake on a 408 stroker, so make some good power. Alrighty, we're gonna continue disconnecting some stuff, but y'all folks will get to see that a little later. For right now, with the wonderful parts of video editing, we're gonna have the transmission on a jack when y'all see this next. Like, having a wonderful day. Wonderful, wonderful day. As you can see, we're wearing different shirts from the last time we were working on that thing. Cause yeah, it wasn't easy. That's an understatement. So here goes the transmission that came out. This is a 4L70, which is basically a member of the 4L60 family. Four-wheel drive, of course, because it has the output shaft. And there's the transfer case that came out with a little adapter ring on the front of it to be able to mate that guy that was supposed to go on that guy onto this guy. This is a 4L80. Now, a lot of folks are going to ask, what are the differences between that and this? Why would I want to put this where that was in that? Well, let me explain it to you. The first thing that you're going to want to know is a 4L60 is 4 speeds, longitudinal, which means engine in front, output straight in the back, because they make 4 T60s, which is 4 speeds, engine in the front, transverse for the front wheel drives. But that is a 4L60 or 4L70. The last two numbers are basically stating the amount of torque that it can handle. 4 means 4 speeds, meaning 3 normal gears, 1 overdrive, L, longitudinal, and 60 means 600 foot-pounds, or 70 means 700 foot-pounds, but that thing would never even handle 500 foot-pounds, or barely even 400 foot-pounds in stock form, because they regularly blow up in these things. I mean, that's like a normal thing to grenade a 60 or 70. It's like known. Then we step up into the bigger brother. The bigger brother is the 4L80. 4 speeds, longitudinal as well. 80 meaning 800 foot-pounds of torque. And the funny thing is these actually get close to being able to do it almost in stock form. These are the transmissions that you find in all the 2500, 3500 trucks. Most of the trucks that came with the 8.1 big blocks, originally in the mid 90s, came behind the 454s. In the 3500s, that's a 98 and it has a 4L80 in it. It was in the heavy duty setups, in the cab chassis, motorhomes, military trucks, U-Haul trucks, FedEx, UPS, you name it. If it came with a Chevy engine on the front and it needed to be heavy duty, this guy. Basically, for you old school folks that want to understand what the difference is, that's akin to a turbo 350 with an overdrive and electronic. This is pretty much similar to a turbo 400 with overdrive and electronics, but it is a lot beefier. Most of the parts in this thing are all steel. Lots of drums, lots of big heavy pieces. A lot of thin stuff in that. I mean, you can even look at the size of the shaft in this thing. That shaft is huge compared to the itty bitty little thin thing that this thing has. I mean, and here, it's 2 fingers and I can cover it up. Whereas 2 fingers on this thing and you can still see the shaft. So these are a lot stronger, a lot stouter in stock form. And they're known to hold up to a ton of horsepower with very little done to it. This one that we built for this truck is one of my Creative Street Design Stage 2 units. It's basically built to handle about 700 plus horsepower. And it's about 700 horse, about 700 foot-pounds of torque. This thing's putting out, and this should be just fine. Once we get ready to turn up the power, then we're going to worry about some other stuff that we should be changing in it. But for the most part, it's ready. Now, the converter that it used to have in that 4L70 was this thing, which is a 4,000 stall, no name, I don't know whose converter. Next to it is a stock 4L60 converter, so you can see the size difference. It's like an 8.5 inch converter. It's like a 10, like a 12 inch converter. So this thing had like no inertia and it was 4,000 RPM stall. And what we're putting back in it is a lovely, beautiful, from Circle D. Ah, look at that. Even tells you the day they built it. Full billet, front cover, triple disc converter that's custom made. Now it has 6 mounting bolts, but you also notice that each one of the mounting pads has 2 holes. So this will work with a stock 4L60 non-dished flex plate that has 3 bolts. If you ever want to upgrade to a unit that has 6 bolts, which we will do at some point, then what will end up happening? We just take out the flex plate that has 3 bolts, put in the one that's got 6 bolts, and it all lines up. You don't have to worry about spacers or anything. It makes life really convenient and easy. Now, one of the beautiful parts that we're doing is we're using a custom adapter kit that has a output shaft that's set up specifically for the MP120 transfer case that comes in these Trailblazers. Otherwise, I'd have to order a specific input shaft for the transfer case that would mate with a factory 4L80. Now, if I was making a ton, a lot of horsepower, then yeah, I'd be worried about that. But for what we've got here, that's going to be just fine for the amount of horsepower we're trying to lay down. We'll be able to put down 4 digits without a problem. This isn't ever going to be a serious race vehicle. It'll run, it'll haul ass, it will do what it's going to do on the street and on the track and everything else. But we're never really going to turn it up as if we're like trying to be on Street Outlaws, because we ain't got that kind of money. So we get ready to drop this girl in there. I mean, the kit comes with pretty much all this stuff here, and if you folks want to know where I got the kit from, comment down below. I'll definitely put it, I'll answer you and let you know. I use these banjo style fittings because I like to be able to swivel them and put them wherever I want. The previous shop, one of the few good things that they did was that they actually ran AN style fittings for everything, so It's already got AN lines on it, and it already has a True Cool 40K, which is a definite upgrade. You should have it on all of your vehicles. True Cool 40K for the win. And this one's got all new electronics that we put in. The beautiful part about the 4L80s is the input shaft speed sensor that is normally internal on those things is actually external. So if it ever goes bad, you can just remove it. And since it has this rear output speed sensor, but we're using the transfer case, we're gonna pick up the speed sense from there. So we're just gonna put a dummy plug in here to close that off. One of the other differences you'll notice from the 4L60 to the 4L80 is the 60 would have the electronic or electrical connector over here. This one has it here on this side. The bell housing is a heck of a lot bigger. It's a lot wider. But honestly, what happens is this area here doesn't have as much of a heavy hump, I would say, to it. It's more streamlined, and it's a one-piece case, whereas the 4L60 series of transmissions have a two-piece case. And as you can see, I mean, this is the actual physical transmission from here to here. I mean, that's a lot smaller than the actual physical transmission that starts here and ends all the way over there. So we did lop off the ears, do a little bit of trimming on the case. We're gonna take a grinder, clean that up a little bit, put a little bit of spray. I mean, spray a little bit of paint on it, but I mean, this is aluminum, it's not gonna rust. And we did the same thing over here, just so we can clear the headers. Because if you folks look under here, there is not a lot of room. There's barely any room in there. But we're gonna make it fit. Or die trying. I think we did.